Hi, this is a quick introduction to animate stuff using Impress and also GIMP. Basically, both are open source software, and there's no need to pay for anything, which is great. So what I'll do now is to start up with the GIMP first, so I can show you how to process the image. But before we go there, let me make sure that the microphone is on and is recording. Yep, it is. Very good. Alright, so let's go ahead and start with the GIMP first. And I'm going to resize everything so you can see the whole thing. And we'll go ahead and first go to my image. And here's my Miata. And the first thing we want to do is to let me move the toolbox out of the way. The first thing we want to do is to use one of the tools to crop out the portion that we want to use and make the rest transparent. So let me move the toolbox back in here. The tool I'm going to use is I'm just going to use a freehand select tool. And when you use a freehand select tool or any type of selection tool, you can also specify a feather edge, which basically means the edge will look a little bit fuzzy, but it's not going to be as sharp, which makes the image look good after it is cropped. So I'll just select 12.6 pixels, and now we are ready to trace out the outline. And I'm not going to do a very good job here because I'm using a touch point on my IBM keyboard to do this cropping. Ideally speaking, this should be done with either precision mouse or a tablet with a pen, so that you can control the line more precisely. But since it's only for a demonstration, I'm using my touch point to do it. And obviously I'm doing a pretty poor job of outlining the image, but it's going to be sufficient. And we're almost there. Alright, so we are there. Okay, let me magnify a little bit here because I cannot see whether the two ends are connected. Okay, now they're connected. Alright, so now that we have the two ends connected, let me zoom back out again. And there we go. Alright, and the first thing we want to do is to invert the selection. So when we invert the selection, I'm selecting the rest, everything other than the car itself. And then we'll go, oh, I forgot one thing, is to add a transparent layer. So you go to transparency under layer, and then you say add alpha channel. Okay, now it looks like nothing is done because there's nothing in the alpha channel yet. I have not specified what everything is opaque at this point, so we cannot see the alpha channel. And that's why we have to go back to edit, go to clear, and so we are deleting everything in the background, and we only have the selection left that is opaque, and the background itself is now completely transparent. So the next thing we want to do is to change our image to make it smaller. So we'll go ahead and select crop to selection. Oops. Auto crop image, that's what we want. And now we have reduced the size of the image to get rid of all the area that is not really useful. The next thing we want to do is to rescale the image, because right now it's a fairly large image. You can tell from here the image itself, oh, I guess you cannot see the decorator, but the image is, oh, I guess you can. The image is about 3,400 pixel by 2,100 pixel, which is way too large for any type of animation, especially when the animation is going to be viewed within maybe a 800 by 600 area. So we'll go ahead and rescale the image. So go to scale image under image, and we'll go ahead and rescale that to, I would say, at the most, 800 pixels in one way, and the other way is automatically figured. And we'll go ahead and click scale, and it shrunk the image because we were zoomed out, and I zoom back in again by pressing the key 1, so it's 1:1 now. 1 pixel on the screen is 1 pixel on the image. So I'll just call this done. It is really sloppy, but for the most part it's good enough for what we are trying to do here. And we'll save the file, and I'll save the file as miata.png. Now it is important to save the file in a way that the alpha channel is preserved, or at least the background is preserved. So when you save it as a PNG inside the GIMP, you can see that you can select Save Background Color. Make sure that is checked. You also want to make sure that it is using the highest compression level, so the image is not too big. So click Save, and now we have the image saved. And so we'll go ahead and get rid of the GIMP. We don't need the GIMP anymore. Alright. So next we start up with Impress. LibreOffice Impress, which is a presentation tool. So let me move this into the full view. This will be a little bit difficult because I'm limiting everything to a 1024 by 768 area. First thing is we want to add the image. We don't really need the rest on this page anymore, so I'm just going to delete all the text boxes here. So get rid of the text boxes. You don't have to do this step, but I just don't want it to be I don't want it to interfere with what I'm going to do with my image. And then we go to Insert and Picture from File, and everything is under /temp, and it's miata.png. So here we have our Miata, and the first thing we want to do is, well, do we really want it to be this big? Well, maybe not. So let's go ahead and shrink the image. And when you shrink an image, you can control click it, so that when you resize it, okay, I'm in the rotation tool right now, and okay, back to the resize tool. When you're in the resize tool, if you press the control key first, it will resize it 1:1, so the horizontal and the vertical scale will be the same. And I managed to make copies of that. Okay, there we go. And I think we can shrink this a little bit more, so we'll go ahead and shrink it some more. There we go. Alright, so let's move in here, and we'll go ahead and try to control how the image gets to this point. And to do that, you have to use custom animation, which is here. If you don't see custom animation, you can go to slideshow and then click custom animation, and then this task window will pop up. I don't exactly need this portion for the time being, so we'll hide that first so that we can see better the image itself. And if you want to make it go in a linear fashion, you just say add special effect, and I'm going to show you the dialog box. We want motion path in this case, and we can select the first one of the first three. One is curve, one is polygon, and the other one is free form. Let's go ahead and pick a free form line, because this is really the most flexible option. So we click, and we want to change the speed to very fast is indeed very fast. So let's go ahead and pick a medium, and then click OK. After you do that, the line drawing tool appears on the screen instead of the usual selection tool, because now you can actually plot a line of that image coming out. So let's say that we want to go all the way from the upper left corner, and let's make it go a little squiggly. Zoom, 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 and finally to this place. You can see that line is now grayed out because it is a path of the image to follow in this case. And let's go to slideshow And I need to make sure that my slideshow setting is done correctly, because I want to make the slideshow only to show in the window. Otherwise, my screen capturing software will only capture a portion of that, which is not going to be very useful. And we want to select everything else. Okay, that's all good. Click OK. And then we go to slideshow and slideshow. And you can see how the car, okay, let me just repeat that again. Slideshow, slideshow. And the whole thing needs me to click first to start the animation. So here we go, click. And you can see how the car is following the line that I just drew by hand to get to the final destination. And then we click to exit out of the presentation. So that's pretty easy to do. I mean, that's really quite simple. And now we can make it go a little bit, make it a little bit more fancy. Let's go back to here. You can see that we have this little mouse icon here, the mouse click icon. That means this will not start until I click on the screen, which is great when I'm doing an interactive presentation, but it's not so useful when I want to automate it to become an animation. So you want to change the start here to after previous. Not with previous, but after previous, because this is the starting point of the whole thing. And obviously you can change the speed as well, which I'm not going to do right now. And let's go ahead and play again. But this time we will still use the slideshow option. And you can see this time I don't need to click anything to start it up. Now this is all great, but the car doesn't seem like it's driving, because it's the same size. There's no indication of change of distance. Now it's really hard to do all the parallax and stuff correctly, but at least I can try to zoom the car out over time. And so what we are going to do this time is we'll go ahead and select the image again and go to modify effect and add another effect. You can actually run multiple effects at the same time. So we'll add effect here, and let's see if zoom is one of the options here. I believe magnify is one of the options. Ooh, okay, that's not the kind of magnify that I want. Zoom, let's try that. Yep, that's probably what I want. Okay, let me move this out of the way so you can see it. And we want to change the speed to be medium. And then click OK. Alright, so let's go ahead and also change one thing. Instead of on click, now let's see what happens when it's on click. Okay, you can definitely see what happens. And here's the on click. And the line following motion is not there anymore. That's because that one is automatic. Unfortunately, when it's following that this squiggly line, the car is not it does not appear yet, because it's waiting for the other one to click first. So what we want to do is to change this animation, which is zooming in. Instead of using on click, we'll go ahead and say with previous. Alright, so you can see the click icon is gone. And what happens now is these two animations, the first one using a motion line and the second one zooming in, will now occur at exactly the same time. And they will both be based on it will just follow the previous slide or the previous animation, but there's no such thing as a previous animation. This is the first one, which means when I play this slide, both animation will be done at exactly the same time. So let's go ahead and find out whether that is what it's going to do. We'll do a slideshow, and you can see how the car is zooming in. In other words, it becomes bigger as it follows that line. So that's really kind of cool, because we can actually control the motion like this by combining two different effects at the same time. You can control the speed a little bit to make it match and all that, but in the end, it's really not a tool for animation. We are just really using it in, I guess, ways that it's not designed for. Okay, next, let's go ahead and add some music, because if you're making a presentation, this is kind of boring. It has no music in it. And to capture the music in my recording, I will need to do something here. Let me just go ahead and change my audio setting. And you can see that too. I'm just going to move the window into view so you can see what I'm doing. Right now I'm recording just from my headset, which means if I play any music in the software, you cannot hear it because it's not being captured. So what I need to do is to change this to monitor of Sennheiser USB headset analog stereo. In other words, whatever I'm hearing in my headset, you'll be able to hear too as a screen. You can see that when I talk, it doesn't record anymore because there's no loop back, which basically means when I'm recording, the recorded sound is not looped back to the headset, even though I can hear it here, because the headset has a built-in loopback feature, but you cannot hear it. So what we need to do is to change that a little bit. Obviously this part has nothing to do with the presentation. I'm just dealing with my software for looping back. So we'll go ahead and take a look at modules, and there's a loop back control somewhere. It's not showing here. Okay. I'm just going through all this again to see if the loopback module is listed. And it's not. Okay, we have to go through the command line options to do it. And I'm going to put it into view here. Alright. It's one of the PA commands, so let's check out PA CMD. That doesn't seem to be the one to do it. All I'm trying to do is to add a module so that I can loop back the microphone back to the headset itself, and I'm trying to find out how to do it. I think this is what we had earlier. And unfortunately the loopback module is not listed here. No, it's not here. Alright, let's take a look at preferences. That's for setting up the server, so that's not it either. Alright, this is the command line module. Load sample. I think this is how we can load a module as well. Let's see, list modules. And one of these modules should be our loopback module. and it's not listed here yet. Maybe I did not install it. Alright, well, instead of wasting my time doing this part here, let's go ahead and I'll just switch. Okay, I'm not going to switch yet. Let me do this part here. Okay, if you want to add some music to your slideshow, it's not actually a custom animation that you need to look at. It's actually slide transition. So we'll click the slide transition here. You can also access that by using slideshow and then go to slide transition. It gets you to the same page. So when you add slide transition, you want to scroll to, oh, there's nothing to do here. You have to go to modify modify transition, and in the sound part you have to specify the sound. So instead of using one of the built-in sounds, I'm going to put in my own soundtrack, which I have done prepared a little bit earlier, and we'll just go to that folder, which is LMMS, and go to projects. These are LMMS projects, but I have already exported as an OGG file, which is a music format. Alright, so now it is included. It just played the sound for a very brief moment on my headset, and then we want to say automatically, okay, we don't want to automatically change the slide, and here we'll say loop until next sound. I don't think we need that. Well, let's go ahead and give it a try. I'm switching the sound recording channel to the output of the computer. So for the time being, you won't be able to hear me speak. I'm not gonna speak at all, and we'll just go ahead and check out the slideshow. So let's go to monitor of Sennheiser. So you'll be hearing what I hear, but not what but you cannot hear me talk anymore. Alright, so now we are switching back to the microphone. You can see how I can introduce the music, or I can include music with the animation, and that's pretty handy. Let's go ahead and insert a new slide, and in the new slide we'll just say this is the second slide, because it would be helpful if the music can keep playing while the slide is moving on to the next one. Okay, let's see if the music keeps playing, and that's my second slide. And without changing anything, we'll go ahead and watch the slideshow again. So once again, I'm switching the output or the recording to the output of my microphone, of my headset, instead of the microphone. Alright, so that was a success, because you can see that the music keeps playing when we move on to the next slide. So in terms of transition on this page, I would specify no sound, because I want the previous soundtrack to continue, and then we want to switch to automatically after, and let's pause for 1 second from the previous slide before we move on to this slide. So once again, let's go ahead and watch the slideshow. I'm switching the audio channel again. Sorry about that. I forgot to switch back to the microphone channel. Okay, I'm back to the microphone channel. The slideshow was not successful because I selected the wrong slide to enable automatically after. This feature dictates how to advance to the next slide relative to the slide that is selected right now. So since I'm selecting slide 1, this is now saying, okay, after slide 1 is done, how do we advance to the next slide? Previously, it was on mouse click, which means, after this slide is done, I have to click the mouse to move on to the next slide. When you're doing a animation or a fully automated animation, you don't want to have to click, all the time. So I set it to automatically after, in this case, 1 second. And in the second slide, it really doesn't matter because this one is actually the end of the entire slideshow for now. So it doesn't really matter whether it advances automatically or whether it advances on the mouse click. So let's go ahead and see whether this time it will automatically advance to the next slide. In other words, in the slideshow, I'm not going to click anything. I will just let the software run itself. So I'm switching back to the monitor again so you can hear the music and not miss music. As you can see, we have just introduced a few elements to animate stuff using Impress, which is a presentation software from the LibreOffice, previously known as OpenOffice Office Suite. And I used the GIMP to create the image. The music, let me show you, where the music comes from, because that's kind of interesting too. The music comes from a software called LMMS, which stands for the Linux Music. I can't remember the full name. Anyway, I'm just going to put the screen here so you can see what LMMS looks like. This is what it looks like. It's a music synthesizer sequencing kind of software. And the project that I had opened a little bit earlier was to do this one. So when I open the project, it shows all this stuff here, and I can actually go in and change the score. But instead of changing the score, I can also just go ahead and play it. Let me switch to the output channel again. As you can see, I can just play it in real time. But when I play it in real time, I can use another software to capture the sound. But that's kind of cumbersome. The tool has a very useful feature called export. And when I select export, I can export the sequence, the song, in the sequencing form, and I can output it into either a WAV file, which is really huge, or OGG file, which is a whole lot smaller. And that's what I did to prepare the soundtrack a little bit earlier. Now, what is cool about LMMS is there's actually a community effort so that when people compose music, they can post it, to this particular website, and they can release their music in different sorts of licensing, using different licensing terms. Sometimes they release it in an open license, which means we can actually use it in our presentation. It is nice to refer to the composer and also the Ps so that they get the credit. But at least we are able to use the music from the LMMS resource. And so this is the conclusion of our demonstration. To summarize, okay, let's go ahead and summarize. And what better way do we have to summarize but to use a presentation? Okay, summary. Okay, use the GIMP to edit photographs. Use LMMS to export music to a soundtrack. And then we used Impress, and let me add here LibreOffice Impress to integrate everything. And the best part about using LibreOffice in this case is we can combine all of those effects. We can combine the motion path, we can combine the zoom, and also the music all at the same time. And you can basically see that we can introduce additional elements in the screen and animate all of those things at the same time. As long as we say start with the previous animation, then it will go ahead and concurrently run a whole bunch of animation all at the same time. So here's the basic introduction to how to make an automated multimedia presentation using Impress. Thanks for watching.